Hey guys, thanks for listening. This is Callie from Telltale Poetry, and I'm here with Elizabeth Psaltis, founder of EHP Marketing, and we're going to talk a little bit about how to market your collections. Thanks so much for being here, Elizabeth.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about your story? Like, how did you come to the point where you founded a marketing company?
Sure. So I worked for 20 years in traditional major book publishing in New York. I worked for 15 years at Penguin, and then, which is now Penguin Random House, and then for 5 years at Simon and Schuster. I started in, every publishing house calls marketing group something different. At Penguin, it was called advertising and promotion. At Simon and Schuster, it's called marketing. But basically, I started out literally as an entry-level assistant and worked my way up. Previous to that, in undergrad, I was an English major. I went, did a junior abroad in Oxford University, which was great. Worked at some literary journals, and went to what was then called the Radcliffe Publishing course up at Harvard, which is now moved to New York, and the Columbia Publishing course. So had done that very short graduate level publishing stint. I know there are lots of other ones out there, and you can even get a master's in publishing. I did not, but then went straight into publishing and worked my way up through all these marketing jobs. And then, there's a lot of consolidation in the publishing industry, and unfortunately my position was eliminated, and it just happens. And I decided to try to strike out on my own. And and I know some other former colleagues who have done so, particularly on the publicity side, and a few marketing people as well. And so now I have my own marketing group and work with both self-published authors and traditionally published authors as well.
That sounds awesome. So why did you decide not to get that master's? You said a lot of people go on for the master's. Where you just wanted to go into the industry right away?
Yeah, I really was ready to go straight into the industry. And this publishing course that I did, it was an intensive summer with lots of late nights. I mean, I guess that's just grad school in general, but I felt like it was enough. And, we were very fortunate. They had a job fair specifically for us. There were just 100 people in that group, and pretty much everyone got jobs. It was a really great kind of rate of hiring out of it. So, and then we just started learning on the job, truly, and we had a nice foundation out of that course. And, not that I don't think you couldn't do a master's. And I know people who get them while they are working, particularly when they're kind of on the beginning edge of their careers, and then they go literally do it at night. I think it could present additional opportunities, just like sometimes people who have an MBA have an upper edge with the job or something like that, but anyway, I just decided to jump right in.
Yeah, well, good for you. So let's say I just self-published my poetry collection and I come to you. Now, do you actually take on poets, or are you mostly focus on fiction and nonfiction?
I've actually done a lot of nonfiction and fiction. I've worked with some poets, but so far in my iteration as my own marketing company, I have not worked with a poet, actually.
Okay, but are you open to it?
I am open to it, yes.
Okay, cool. Well, maybe we can partner up. But so let's say I'm a poet and I have a collection and I come to you and I'm like, Elizabeth, help. What do you look for? Maybe I would say it a little more eloquently than that, but what do you look for in one of your clients or in one of their books?
So I'm looking for someone who has an interest in a drive to do a lot of the work themselves, because of course I'll work with them as well. But I have worked with some people who are saying like, well, I don't really want to write anything extra or work on my social media or anything like that. And, unfortunately, I think that you have to have those interests and abilities in yourself as an author to market your own work. I of course would share my expertise and advice and pitching and active work, but I think readers, consumers, and also other authors want to hear directly from the author and the creator. So, I think there's no shortcut to being that authentic voice yourself, so I think you have to be someone who's dedicated to putting in some work yourself, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I tell my clients that all the time, right? Because they want people to buy their book, but maybe they don't want to talk about their book. And I think, you kind of have to get people to buy it. But what do you think the difference is? I mean, is there such a thing as a non-marketable collection? Like, is that possible?
I think there are audiences for everything. There are niche audiences everywhere. And I think the beauty of online marketing in particular is that it's can be easier to find those people now. It might have been that it was difficult to find your people, and now through various web communities or targeted Facebook advertising or whatever it is, I think you can drill down and find your right audience, as well as not forgetting about a general poetry readership, general literary readership, and I think that if your poetry or your writing has any kind of angle that's almost on a nonfiction side, like you write about women's rights, let's say, or something like that, there are so many additional avenues for promotion and publicity to go after.
Absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, when you market for your clients, like for example, this Amy Schumer book that you marketed, I just know I want to talk about this one. My first question is she really funny in real life?
She is really funny. I mean, she's a natural talent who can, some people are just so just able to just turn a phrase and think on their feet. And, I think she's one of those people for sure.
Nice.
That was a fun book to work on, and of course, with that level of celebrity, there are many, many layers. There are managers, publicists, additional agents, there's kind of a committee that has to approve everything. That's just, I think, comes with working on celebrity books and celebrity projects. But she was someone who, she wrote it herself. She was interested in promoting it, and with the celebrity level, you get a lot of opportunities that you wouldn't otherwise, particularly on the kind of exposure and publicity side. And, for that book, for instance, she made a lot of very funny videos for various retailers and just kind of did some off the cuff comments that were, hilarious and just really great and unique. And because that book was particularly, it had its essays and they range. Some are very deep and personal, and some are more funny, and some are more flip. But there were opportunities to do kind of more fun marketing things, like we made a Mad Libs style fill in the blank where you could kind of write your own book along with Amy Schumer, and and it got to have swear words and stuff like that, which we don't always get to do in book marketing.
Yeah, that sounds super fun. So how much of this book success, so getting to New York Times bestseller list, how much do you think your work played a part in that?
Wow. Well, on a celebrity level, I think there's so much platform there, and you're tying into new movies, or in her instance, she was on a comedy tour at the time, so I can't say that I was the catalyst there, in that sense. But there are other projects I've worked on where I have seen, and it is tough. Sometimes marketing in particular can be hard to measure, and I think sometimes publicity side is a little easier to measure because yes, you got that cover story in People magazine, or you got that review in the New York Times book review, or whatever it is, and I think on the marketing side, it's a little more incremental and build a slow build of awareness. But I have had instances in the past where I've seen work that I've done have a direct impact on sales, and that's extremely gratifying. For instance, I worked on a book that was by a World War II veteran, and we made this great commercial for it and ran it on TV during showings of various World War II documentaries and Band of Brothers when it aired on the History Channel and that sort of thing. And this was months after the book had come out, and it hit the Times list again. And, and that was a direct result of concentrated marketing to a very targeted audience at a very specific time.
Heck yeah. Well, congrats. It sounds amazing. So for those people who don't know, can you give us a couple of sentences about the difference between a PR person and a marketer?
Sure. And, there is a lot of gray area for sure. But a publicist really does concentrates on media pitching to get reviews and feature attention, meaning, actual kind of cover story about the author, or pitches producers to include a book in a roundup that is themed, be it, as broad as summer reading or specific to, new books about this particular topic, sort of a thing. And of course, they handle things like author appearances, author tours, speaking, and also typically submit books for awards as well. That's typically handled by the publicity side. Things like on the conventions and that sort of thing is kind of dually handled. And then marketing handles, what I like to say is we handle the things that we have to pay for. So is kind of an easy way to say it. And so advertising for sure, and any kind of advertising, be it print, radio, TV, out of home, and then of course social. And we do a lot of the social media platform building, website writing and building, and getting books to booksellers, making sure booksellers are aware of books, getting it into various programs with booksellers, and other things like video production and that sort of thing. So although again, there are two, sometimes there's crossover, but I think, publicist is getting that coverage that we're not paying for, and a marketing side is typically often paying for that coverage or just putting in the time too.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And what advice would you give to people who say like, oh, I don't have a big budget, right? Maybe they're self-publishing and they don't have, $10,000 to spend per year. Are there things that they can do to market their collection properly?
For sure. And, I think a lot of my job, even at the publisher level and now as I work with a lot of self-published authors, is finding free or economical ways to promote the book. I think you should take advantage and utilize all of the communities that are out there that are free, like Goodreads, where there are a variety of activities you can undertake. And again, some of it is putting in your own time as you can and as you have time to write reviews, interact with other people there. Social is buildable. I think without advertising, not that advertising doesn't hurt, but also social advertising can be $35 once a month or $50 once a month, so it doesn't have to break the bank. And also there are so many communities out there, like all these binders groups, which I bet a lot of your clients and listeners know about, where authors are supporting each other, giving each other key insights into services they can utilize. And I think banding together with other authors to kind of do a round robin of promoting one another's work in a variety of ways is a nice way to do some free promotion of each other.
Absolutely. I love that idea. And what do you think the biggest mistake people make when trying to market books on their own is?
I think that people, I think we're all guilty of this, that we don't ask enough. And I think that, sometimes I have clients who will say, well, I don't have any reviews on Amazon or Goodreads. And I'll say, well, have you asked for them? Have you boldly, blindly, asked, please, if you enjoyed my book, go on Amazon. Here's the link. Go on Goodreads. Here's the link, and rate and review my book. And don't do it just once. Do it every month, that sort of thing. And I think think of your own behavior as a consumer. You see something, you might look at something on your phone, you're in line at the grocery store, you don't have time to act on it because you get distracted by something or interrupted, but maybe a week later or a month later, you're actually sitting in front of a computer or have 10 minutes to actually do something, sort of thing. So I think the asking again is important.
Absolutely. So it sounds like a big part of marketing is like taking charge of your own work and actually talking about it and requesting kind of the stuff you need from your readers. Is that right?
Yes, and giving them some tools, like giving them the link, or if you want someone to, if you, going back to doing something that's free, if you design an attractive quote from your work that you use an app like Canva, which has a free aspect to it where you can design something. If you aren't a graphic designer or don't have access to Photoshop, that sort of thing, you can design something. Send it to your friends and family and say, on my publication day, here are 5 activities that you can do on my behalf that would really help me. Post this on your social media, link here, review here, that sort of thing.
Nice. I love that. One of my members actually asked whether or not you think that, creating these nice quotes and putting them on Facebook or sharing them with friends really helps. And it sounds like you're saying it does. And
I do like them. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
I think visual images, posts, there are statistics, posts on social that have, particularly, let's say on Facebook, have a much higher engagement rate if they have a visual. And of course, video is even better. I know not every author or poet wishes to on video, but video content is something like 80% more engaged with on social media or something like that. It's crazy how much more impactful those visuals can be, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And do you think, when it comes to marketing a collection, do you think book length and price impact the marketing, or do you think they're not even related?
A lot of authors play around with price, particularly in certain genres like romance, thriller, sci-fi, fantasy. I see authors do that a lot. I think that a few years ago, people got really into $0 or 99 cents. And then there became this glut of content and books that were all at that price point. There was kind of no curation going on, I think, because there were just too many choices, that were that low. And then I think those people, initially that strategy was working, and then there was just too much product at that price point that no one knew what was quality, what wasn't, and I
Absolutely.
think I wouldn't go too low, because I think then you kind of get into this, you get clumped in this pile. And I know it can be tempting because people will see some sales or volume of sales because they have that lower price. But I think you can get lost in those piles, frankly.
Absolutely. I agree. And so it sounds like, you've done some sort of out of the box marketing tactics. Would you say you rely on those a lot, or do you mostly focus on like traditional marketing methods?
Right now, because budgets are smaller, when you're at a publishing house, you can do wacky things. I've done, costumed activations and crazy giveaways and stuff like that. There's kind of fun stuff you can do when you have a lot of money to do it with, of course, but I think right now I'm probably doing some more traditional stuff, although, I've worked with some authors who are doing book giveaways on the New York City subways, for instance, and that's kind of a going out into the real world and getting books out there. And that's a paid service, but it's not that much money. It's a few $100s, so there are kind of more interesting things to be done that aren't going to break the bank as well.
Yeah, I love that idea, like going out, actually handing out your book, giving it to people. Yeah. I'm guessing those probably include some sort of like insert that lets people go to a website and stuff like that. Yeah.
Stickers, and there's a service called Books on the Subway that does it. They sticker the books. They have volunteers who go out and do it, and they have it in a variety of cities as well, not just New York. And then there's a social posting aspect as well that goes along with it. So
yeah, that's great. So if you had to give one piece of advice to help people market their books on their own, what would you say to them?
I would say make sure, and this I think is tough when you're deep in your own project, but I would either try to step away from it yourself to a degree, or engage someone who can, meaning pay someone or go to a friend who can um, look at your book, your product description, your author profile, your content that's out there, your website, and make sure that what you're saying is clear and concise and enticing, and doesn't get potentially too down in the weeds of I know we want to say, like, here's everything that I want to tell you about my project, that sort of thing. But I think to slim down your copy for marketing is really important. And then from there, really engaging, putting in some work where you are interacting with other people so that you're building a community of other authors and other readers who you can call upon to promote your book and buy your book.
Yeah, I love that idea. Well, that's all the questions I had for you today. Thank you so much for being here.
Sure, of course.